maybe Allie, do you want to talk about what Meta Angels, but also sort of separate from Meta Angels, what you all as a team are rolling out very, very soon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, everyone. GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. I'm Carly Riley. And today on the show, I have the co-founders of the Meta Angels NFT project, Alex Cavoulacos and Allyson Downey, also Allie. And I am so incredibly excited to talk to these two women. Not only is Meta Angels a project worthy of a case study in terms of what they've already started launching in the few short, I want to say weeks, months that they've been launched. I've talked about this project on the show before. Zeneca33 has talked about this project on the show before because we are both big fans. Allie and Alex think about things like true entrepreneurs, which is what they are. They both have strong backgrounds as serial entrepreneurs and have a lot of wisdom that they have brought with them from that traditional world. So just from that alone, you will get value from this episode. However, they are also coming out with a really big announcement for this space in general. So if you are somebody who have thought about launching an NFT project, are a business owner who wants to start incorporating NFTs into your project, listen to this episode. Big news coming from Allie and Alex. I'm really excited about this. So I would love for you to stick around, listen to the episode, and give us your thoughts on Twitter, Instagram, social, I don't know, wherever you tend to linger, because there's some really big stuff coming out of this episode and this conversation. And with that, we're going to have a word from our sponsors, and then we'll get right into my conversation with Alex and Allie of Meta Angels.
It's increasingly obvious that everything will become tokenized, and NFT marketplaces needs robust financial reporting, performance analysis, and the peace of mind that they are compliance ready. Gilded NFT OPS is a one-stop financial reporting solution for growing NFT platforms. Gilded has developed marketplace-specific modules to track the financial performance of NFT creators, including revenue tracking, collection metrics, royalty payments, and revenue share. Customers of NFT OPS gain access to full-featured accounting tools and powerful APIs for custom integrations that simplify operations and produce tax-ready data. So no wonder why so many top brands like CoinMarketCap, Gitcoin, Nifty's, and POAP trust Gilded to automate complex reporting workflows. Visit gilded.finance/Bankless to learn more. Living a bankless life requires taking control over your own private keys. And that's why so many in the Bankless Nation already have their Ledger hardware wallet. And brand new to the Ledger lineup of hardware wallets is the Ledger Nano S Plus, a huge upgrade to the world's most popular hardware wallet. With more memory and a larger screen, the Nano S Plus makes it easy to navigate and verify your transactions. And the paired Ledger Live desktop app gives you increased transparency as to what is about to happen with your NFT. What you see is what you sign. The Nano S Plus gives you the smoothest possible user experience while you're doing all of your crypto things. So go to the Ledger website to check out the features of the new Ledger Nano S Plus and join the waitlist to get yours. And don't forget about the Crypto Life card, also powered by Ledger. The CL card is a crypto debit card that hooks right into the Ledger Live app, right next to all the DeFi apps and services that you're already used to doing, like swapping tokens and staking. So if you don't have a Ledger hardware wallet, go to ledger.com, grab a Ledger, and take control over your crypto.
A huge welcome to Alex Cavoulacos and Allie Downey, the co-founders of the Meta Angels project. Y'all know I'm a huge fan of Meta Angels. We've talked about it a number of times on this show, and I'm really excited to dive into it with y'all to learn a little bit more about your journey. And also, there's a big announcement today that I think we are the first to break, and really excited to have you tell us what this big announcement is. So we'll leave that in suspense. To start, why don't you each introduce yourself, tell us your backgrounds, really. I think you have very interesting journeys to Web3.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This is so great. We're obviously a big fan of you, and we love listening to this podcast. My name is Alex Cavoulacos. I'm co-founder and CEO of Meta Angels. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been in tech for over a decade, and really my specialization is building companies and building products, both the operations side and the product side. Before this, I spent a decade building the Muse venture-backed company, went through the Series C, 70 million people a year coming to get career advice and job search from that company. But from it, I learned a ton about hiring, growing businesses, building brands, listening to users. And I just love that early stage. And so after leaving there after a decade, sort of thinking about my next move, and got together with Allie to do something different that I think is really impactful, which is always what drives me.
Yeah. And Allie Downey, I am also one of the co-founders of Meta Angels. I too am a serial entrepreneur. This is my third company. I have a background in politics, which I know I share with you, Carly.
Yeah.
And then after that, I got my MBA and then started a company called WeSpring, which is like Yelp for baby and kids products. And we were building a community that enabled people to get social product recommendations. So I'd say the common thread that has run through my career has been around building communities that are centered on trust. And that is a big, big component of what we're doing with Meta Angels as well.
You have perfectly segued me to my next question, which is, I think that's a common thread for both your careers in some way. When I think about the Muse as really a connective platform for companies and people looking for jobs, and also the content you've created around that to help people find jobs, find career paths. I know you've written a book on it as well, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And then Allie, of course, with you for new parents, building that community for them. Do you think that's why for each of you, Web3 clicked early, all of us being fairly early adopters here? What was that aha moment for each of you in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Go for it,
Alex.
Allie. Yeah, I think what's so interesting is when you're building a company, especially as a founder, right? Like you get that ownership piece, and you bring in, and I've hired hundreds of people to work at the Muse who had equity and are part of building that. And it's so fascinating to me to sort of think about this new world of building where there's an ownership component and there's a direct sort of connection to what you're building. That for me was something that clicked very early on. I think also the difference between one-of-one art and buying things sort of that has the direct translation with art potentially, that for some people clicks versus not. I'm not in the real world an art collector. My sister works at a major museum. She is very much that kind of person. I spend my money on travel and food. That's my hobbies. But I do believe in community. I like to build things that matter. And so that once I really understood that world and how NFTs could enable much greater things, and the power of building together, that for me immediately made sense.
Quick follow-up. What does your sister think of NFTs? Is it coming from the traditional art world?
No,
is she
it's a great one.
skeptical
She is
or
very skeptical. But I think my sister coming from the traditional world. There's some people who work at her museum and other museums who are very much into it. She's very much an analog person in general. She has a radio record player. She's just always been an analog person. And so, she works in the film side of a museum, but she works 35 millimeter film that's being preserved. Right. So it's a big leap from that perspective, but I think there's an openness in general from people in the space. Like, what does this really mean? And I think there's a responsibility for those of us building to show everyone, not just the traditional art world, how there's legitimacy and sort of professionalism and maturity to the space that I think some of the early projects did not have, or some of the reputation for scams and phishing, understandably, leaves people with questions.
Okay, Allie, your aha moment for NFTs.
Yeah. So for me, Curious Addies was my path in, where I really fell down the rabbit hole in a big way. I found Benu's, I think it's 20,000 word article about NFT 101. And in reading that, really went along on his journey of going from an absolute skeptic to being a full believer. And for me, it was seeing that NFTs are really an intersection of brand and community. It's a personal brand. It's choosing something that's representing you in the metaverse, on Twitter, and your entire digital life, and choosing something that represents your values. And for me, starting to think about the opportunity with the project that became Meta Angels was around figuring out what is that brand that I want to represent me. For me, it's around being a helpful human being, and opening doors for other people. With WeSpring in the early days, as I said, it was a social product recommendation engine. One of our advisors was Alexandra Wilkes-Wilson, who's one of the co-founders of Guilt. And she wrote a book called By Invitation Only, which was about how they started Guilt around an invitation only platform. And what she talked about in the book with her co-founder was that people are motivated by wanting to feel altruistic and generous, and also by being able to showcase their expertise. And it felt like such a great opportunity to leverage that in the NFT space, to give people an opportunity to be both generous and experts in an area that they were a part of. I was looking around the landscape of tokenization and thinking about all of these different things that you could tokenize. Can you tokenize your Airbnb? Can you tokenize a textbook? And started thinking about tokenizing access and opportunity, and just started to see all the potential. And I talk about a lot how I feel like we're looking right now at the invention of the wheel with NFTs, that we're still at that stage where it's the pottery wheel, which fun fact is actually the genesis of the wheel. This wheel doesn't even have spokes yet, and people are just starting to use it to move things around. And we haven't started yet to see the higher order uses, like thinking about a wheel turning into a gear that's in a wind turbine that's pulling down electricity into batteries. But I've got a lot of conviction that that is there. And it was really Ben's article that helped me start to look more futuristically at the space.
Well, I will ask you both and pick your brains extensively, I think, in this interview about what some of those future exciting uses you think might be for NFTs. And I think it'll tie into a lot of what MetaAngels has coming up. Let's talk about MetaAngels. You started to get into there, Allie, like what the core of this project is, but give us the MetaAngels spiel. What is MetaAngels?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to that idea of tokenizing access and opportunity, I have been so fortunate throughout my entire career to have access to these traditionally gated networks that have catapulted my career and my life in so many different ways. Going back to the time that I spent working on politics, and then going to Columbia Business School and having that alumni network, I went through Techstars, and that network has been gold to me. And then there's another one that Alex and I are part of called The List, which is a community of women in tech. It's how Alex and I met a decade ago. And these networks and communities have opened up so many doors for me. And they're very limited and insular right now. And thinking about Web3 and the global nature of it, the opportunity to blow the doors and the walls off those traditionally gated networks and give people access was just really exciting and interesting. And it's got the wheels turning for me, back in November, and we just have continued on this path at a really crazy pace as well.
Yeah. And so for folks who are sort of curious about the mechanics of it, so MetaAngels is an NFT community, membership community. And so, our members connect with each other, ask for help, find people in other industries. We've seen people get jobs. We've seen people, reach out for technical advice when they're doing something, get together to do projects, ask for personal advice. We've got a parents channel and folks coming in. One of my favorites was a pharmacist giving advice, was like, it's an over-the-counter med, so I'm going to give you advice, but really you should call a doctor, right? But being able to go somewhere. And I think to Allie's point around networks, I grew up in France. I came here without a lot of networks around. And then I went to Yale undergrad, and then I worked at McKinsey and Company. And then I went to Y Combinator. I have The List. For almost any question I have in my life, I can turn somewhere and get an answer or a connection. And that is something that a lot of people who have power and money and who run the world have. That's the reality of how a lot of things get done, and most people don't. And so being able to give people more access and help them succeed, I think for me is really motivating.
How are you guys thinking about finding the people who don't have the networks versus the people who already have the networks being maybe more likely to be in Web3 and find you guys?
It's a great question. I mean, I think one of the things we did up front was sort of focus on the people who are living the same values as us. And so, our gold list, which is what we called our pre-sale list, was really focused on giving access to people who are willing to help each other, but it could be in any way. So, to an example, you could be a pharmacist who was giving advice there, and you might not, be able to give business advice over here, but this engineer could. And so everyone, I think, has something to bring to the table. And that's really how we've approached it. And as a result, we've been able to find, on one side, you've got an Emmy or 2-time Emmy winning writer. On the other side, you've got someone who knows a ton about civil rights law, but who wants to be a screenwriter deep down. And those people get to connect. But if someone has a question about civil rights law, that person has something to offer, right? And so I think it's really thinking about people as not being sort of just on one side of the table or the other. But beyond that, and we'll talk about it later, I think our lending program is something that we really focused on building out in terms of being able to give access to people, whether or not they know someone within Meta Angels, whether or not they are well connected. And we have a teenager in Far Eastern Asia who is building a civics DAO, who's been lent to Meta Angel, right? And who now has connections, people all over the world. So for us, I think it's really, how do we take people who have a desire to do something, right? They're not coming here to just, chat with people on the internet. They want to build something with their lives. They want to do something. They want to, grow and learn, and to empower them to do that. That's really what gets me excited in the morning.
Allie, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that. Where I'm going to go next is to talk about some of the features and programs you've rolled out already within Meta Angels that I think are really interesting, and the loan program will be one of them. Do you have anything you want to add on that question of how you outreach, how you sort of market or get folks into your community before I go to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the lending piece is a really big and important part of it. We are doing a lot to raise the profile of that lending. We have some partnerships in the works right now. They're going to help bring underrepresented people into the community, people who have never bought an NFT or just getting into the space. One of the things that's so important for us with lending is that it helps avoid the risk of people getting priced out, like the people who could benefit most from the community getting priced out. But it's also a great entry point for people who are Web3 curious and are not quite ready to spend hundreds of dollars on a JPEG, but want to be part of these communities and want inside access. We have seen so many instances of people being loaned an angel and within like 48 hours going out and buying their own because it just clicked for them. And as we're thinking about, onboarding the next million or tens of millions of people into Web3, it's a mechanism that can be so valuable. One of the partnerships we're really excited about is with BFF. We're going to be rolling that out shortly to help bring more women into Meta Angels and Web3 in general. We're going to be working with that Civics DAO to help bring in more Gen Z leaders. Really, really excited about all the potential to partner with other organizations to help bring more people inside.
That's brilliant. The fact that the lending program also ends up working obviously as a marketing tool for you all, because then people are in there, they've tested out the product. They're like, I love this. I don't want to ever lose this. I'll go buy one. Let's talk about the lending program. It is really distinct. I don't know that either of you are technical per se yourselves, but I am curious about
Alex
the tech
is
mechanism
very technical
behind this. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, is it sit in escrow? How does technically the lending component of this work?
Yeah, so we basically built a new function. So the wallet, the angels actually transferred from the owner's wallet into the borrower's wallet using that function. And so if you look at it just on OpenSea, right, not in Etherscan, you'll see the angel was here and it was transferred, and now so if I'm loaning to you, it was in my wallet, it's showing up in your wallet as if you owned it. But if you actually look in Etherscan or you sort of look in the underlying code, it's actually using a different function. It's not the transfer function, it's our loan function. And that all happens on chain. And so the transaction keeps a reference in the contract to the original owner on a mapping. It's called tokens owner own loan, if anyone's curious. And that's what guarantees the later retrieval. So essentially the original owner is the only person who can make a move. So once it's in your wallet, if I've lent it to you, you can't sell it. You can't transfer it. We actually had someone newer to Web3 who was a borrower whose wallet got compromised actually over the weekend, right as I was getting onto a plane, and they couldn't do anything. It just, and so what happened is when we realized what happened, that it was, in this borrower's wallet, and then the owner went onto our back end and clicked a button and retrieved it, and it came back into their wallet safely. And so what we wanted to be able to do was allow for the borrower to get all of the upside, all the functionality that you would of being a member, while keeping the original assets safe for the owner. And so it means you can lend it to anyone. It can lend it to someone you found on the internet and not worry about whether it's safe or not. That has allowed for really opening those doors.
Yeah. Another fun thing that we incorporated in with the lending, when you lend, you get a Polygon token that displays your Meta Angel in a gold frame that says on loan underneath it. So you still have that Meta Angel to display in your wallet. And we see some wallets that just have like a wall of loaned Meta Angels. So it's an opportunity, again, thinking about that personal brand to
Yeah.
showcase that you are a person who's really committed to bringing more people into the space.
Right now with the lending program I went on was playing around. It looks like you have to have somebody specific already in mind and input the wallet address of the person you're going to loan to. Are there thoughts down the line where it's more of a marketplace and you can go find folks who are looking to borrow one and you are looking to loan one and that matchmaking happens?
Yeah, right now we've got some superstar members of the community facilitating that already. We have a lending asks and offers channel where that can happen. The reason that we can't just pool them and then share them is exactly that safety. You want to have only the owner able to send and retrieve. But sorry, one of the things that's been so exciting for us is being able to say whether or not you actually know someone. If you go to metaangelsnft.com, there's a lending program link. You can apply. Even if you don't have Discord or Twitter, you can apply and say, hey, here's why I'm interested. If you do have Discord, just come straight into the Discord, jump into the lending acts and offers. And we've had people say, hey, here's who I am. I'm a queer artist looking to get into the space. I'm a teenager who wants to do a civics DAO. I'm a mom at home of 4 and I don't know much about Web3, but I'm really curious. My friend told me to come here, whatever it is. Or I'm an engineer who wants to find mentorship. Like we found a whole range and people will say, great, awesome. Which one of mine would you like to loan? Like, come on in. And that has been just incredible to see people come in. So right now you do need that one person to know, as an owner who you send it to, but we have sort of all of that infrastructure around it to allow people to come in.
You also in your Discord have this other piece that I think is really distinct, which is the Browse Wishes channel, or the wishes in general and wish fulfillment, and seems very core to your mission. Allie, want to talk about what that is and explain that for folks and maybe where it came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, back to that initial thought about helpfulness and building a community where people had a chance to help each other and lift each other up. I remember we were sitting. One of our advisors, Meredith Parfit, was sitting on her couch with our initial brainstorming team, and we were all talking about what is the behavior that we want people to take, and what is that offering that we want to put out there, and came up with the idea of this wishing well. Repost something that you need, and somebody just drops in and says, "Hey, I can help you with that." So built it out as a channel where people post their wishes. There's a Make a Wish channel. There's also a Make an Offers channel, and that actually came about because we had community members early on. When we were still 100 people in Discord, saying, "Hey, there's not a wish I can help with yet, but I can help with this other thing. Is there somewhere I can post that?" So the offers that are getting posted are things like, "Hey, I'm a professional copywriter. If you ever need me to look at something that you've written, or if you need help writing something, let me know."
We just had one on a career coach who was like, if anyone wants help, and there were like 4 people who were like, please, I would love a chat. But it's something amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Meditation coaches, therapists, all sorts of people are jumping in with their offers to help. And we are continuing to build infrastructure around that to make it simpler and easier to find things that you can help with. One of our core principles is that, people shouldn't need to live their life in Discord. There's a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of expectations around this being a 24/7 space. And that's just not realistic as we're thinking about making the space more accessible to more people who are busy, people who have jobs and children and other obligations, and really building this out in a way that enables people to drop in for 5 minutes, see something that they can help with, and just jump in and roll up their sleeves and do that. We've talked a lot about the wishing well being powered by dopamine and altruism. And that's the truth. It feels really good to do something to help somebody else. And we want to take away all of the friction to make that possible.
Have you thought about platforms outside of Discord? Would you consider other?
It's a good question. I mean, I think at the moment, moving actually all of chat and the communication off of Discord is asking someone to log into another system, right? And like, given that they already are in Discord for so many projects, you know, the friction there is actually, I think, worse for the user. If it was better for our members, we would do it. I do think there are things we've already built out on our site. So lending is on our site. You can download high resolution pictures. They're signed by our artist on the site. You can print directly high resolution for our partners. I think there's room for us to continue to build that out, to have things that don't need to be, synchronous and have them there. I think there's also, and we're going to be rolling out an email newsletter as well in terms of meeting people where they are, for people who want to have, here's the weekly recap, or, you know, if there's major drops, like we got allow list spots for World of Women Galaxy. If there's people who didn't see it within that 24-hour window, they might have been disappointed. But also, you don't want to feel like you need to check Discord every 12 hours to make sure you don't miss something. So how do we make it possible for people to get, oh, actually, I need to go back to Discord. This one matters, at least to me right now. I think that's another piece. But yeah, I mean, I think there's so much opportunity around this. And to your point, Allie, around meeting people, you know, making it easy. It's one of the reasons we have the Browse Wishes channel within the Wishing Well, because Make-A-Wish is all these conversations of wishes being fulfilled. Browse Wishes is just a list of the wishes made. And one of my favorite posts is someone was saying, every morning I get my coffee and I just browse the wishes, see if there's anything I can help with. Right. And some days I can, some days I can't, but I know what people are asking for. I might think of someone. There was a question someone it was interviewing a Discord, wanted an insider tip. And one person raised their hand, said, my friend works there, let me connect you. And then Allie was able to get an article, actually, a recruiter recently posted on, here's what you need to know about the inside scoop of Discord. And between those two things, that person's all set. And then we move on to the next set of wishes.
Do you have a favorite wish that's been fulfilled? Like a favorite story? Like, oh my gosh, this was crazy. We never thought this would get fulfilled. And here it is.
So many.
Yeah.
Allie, which one would you say?
Yeah, one of the early ones that's still my favorite. Debbie Soon, who is now one of the co-founders with Randy Zuckerberg of Hug, she posted in Discord back in January, and I pulled it up in anticipation of being able to talk about the story. So she posted on January 7th, decided to give the Wishing Well a whirl. I'm currently in the process of shutting down my current startup, and so I'm on the lookout for my next adventure. Well, I've been invested in crypto for a few years now. I've been giving it more serious thought over the past few weeks, and I'm reaching a point where my wish would be to go full-time into Web3. So a week later, Randy Zuckerberg saw that wish, reached out to her, and here they are a couple months later working on Hug together. We're seeing so much magic like that happening, where people are just making these really deep and meaningful connections.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pick just one. I'll give some. So I know we've seen a lot of job-related ones. We've seen entire teams of NFT projects just like hired off of our platform. I think I'm going to talk about some more personal life ones that have touched me a lot. We had one sort of burnt out social worker who does really incredible work with Indigenous populations. Just I love my work, but it's really draining. Get immediate support from therapists, trauma-informed care, people who have a lot of experience there, able to just say, hear them, give them guidance, tell them where to start when they didn't know where else to turn. We also had someone early on ask if anyone in the community had experience going through the divorce of their parents at an adult age, and said, I have no one I can turn to talk about this. I feel like it's a challenging situation. And within less than a day, they were connected to several people who were like, DM me, let's hop on the phone, let's chat. And so just, especially after the last 2 years that everyone has had because of the pandemic, everything else, I think there's a need and a desire for connection, and it's harder than ever to know where to turn. And so you have your own circles. And to use that example, you may or may not know if your friends have gone through that, or you might not want to tell them about your parents' divorce in the middle of it. And being able to turn and have a place you can ask for that support, or share your deepest desire of changing careers that you haven't told your family about, right? Like that is just a place where people can actually be almost more real than their IRL selves sometimes and get really meaningful connections. But for that, you need a place where you feel safe and where you feel there's trust and you feel there's support. That's not the culture of every project in Web3. I think that's been really important to us to cultivate a place where you can turn. Right now, it's still in the works, but we had someone reach out about a really challenging situation, and a bunch of angels just proactively are creating a pro bono project to try and support that person. Just created a thread where I can help with engineering, I can help with marketing, let's figure out how to help you. That for me is the magic, but it happens every day. So it's hard to pick a favorite.
I'm imagining the early days of Discord when I know this, like the gaming days. I have my own. I had my own history with Discord, and this is like a beautiful, definitely not what Discord was necessarily picturing when they launched. In all beautiful ways. Going to the asynchronous comment you made earlier, it does feel like the browse wishes could be something that works very well asynchronously on the website or something. And I'm looking forward to the day when, whether it's on Discord or elsewhere, you can filter the kinds of notifications you want. Like, I want to know when an allow list spot like opens up, and basically don't ping me for anything else. Or I want to know when there's a new wish, but I don't need to know other things. Right now, that's such a missing feature in Discord.
There's actually a project. There's someone in our Discord who's working on a tool to aggregate and try to use AI on it. It's still early days, but I'm keeping an eye on them because I think that's the tooling in the space is lacking. User experience in Web3 is terrible. I mean, terrible, terrible, terrible. And for new people coming in, there's got to be a better way. And I just genuinely believe you can't build products that make people feel shitty. Yeah. Right? Like, it's not a long, it's just not a long-term strategy and Web3 is building products that make people feel shitty. It's FOMO and hype and regret day after day. And so I think for us to build a really meaningful, ecosystem, there's got to be something else and a better way. And we're trying to, from our mint process onwards, we've tried to do it differently.
And that said, like, I am a big believer in building lean and using off-the-shelf tools and low and no-code solutions to listen to your customers, understand what the product is that they need, and then actually wait and invest in building a product that's based on learnings rather than just your gut. So that is one of the things that Discord is great for, that we can see what those behaviors are so we can build out a product and really invest in the thing that is going to meet all of those needs.
There are other cool things that you have going on, like the marketplace. I want to get to them, but I almost want to make sure we have a lot of time to get to the big thing here. Maybe, Allie, do you want to talk about what Meta Angels, but also sort of separate from Meta Angels, what you all as a team are rolling out very, very soon?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a conversation, in the midst of the aftermath of our mint, when we were kind of reflecting back on all of the things that we had learned and what we had figured out along the way. We were on the phone with Gabe. Alex and Gabe and I were on the phone. Gabe is our CTO. It's phenomenally talented engineer who, just really, truly the best. I found him in the Flower Girls Discord in December. We just struck up a conversation there. Way overqualified Web 2 engineer who has been building amazing products for a decade and said that he wanted to experiment in Web3. So anyway, we were having this conversation. I went through Techstars. Alex and Gabe both went through YC. And where the conversation evolved was when is someone going to create the YC/Techstars for Web3? And that is our announcement. That is what we are doing. We are building something called Angel Labs, which is going to help accelerate Web3 projects, give them the skills and tools that they need to really succeed and achieve our goal of up-leveling the space overall.
Yeah. And when you think about Y Combinator and Techstars or programs like that, really, they came about to increase the success rate for startups. Most startups fail, most NFT projects fail. And what they look to do is find the best talent, identify those, look at a pattern, create a cohort, and help them be more successful. We think, there's hundreds of new people starting projects in this space. We want to find the very best ones, put them together, help them not only learn from each other, but also learn, we'll talk more about it, but through programming, our mentors, all of that, and go from concept to mint in 10 to 12 weeks.
I love this. I almost am surprised it hasn't been done yet. And yet, on the other hand, this space is really a year and change old in terms of really having people in it. So it shouldn't be that surprising. But of course, it moves so incredibly fast. I'm curious, for this first cohort, you're really specifically looking at NFT projects. It's not about broader Web3 or other tokens. Why did you decide to keep it sort of narrowly around folks building with NFTs? And do you see in the future it maybe expanding?
Yeah, I mean, I think we wanted to start with things that were NFT enabled, but it doesn't mean that it's a 10K PFP drop. I think we're thinking much, much more expansively than that. But given that that is where we have today, not just the expertise and the mentor base, but also a tech stack to go along with it, something we can talk about. But what we're seeing is that people working on NFT projects are all reinventing the wheel. They are all these different Solidity engineers are writing the same smart contract, sometimes been better or worse code. They're all making the same art generation tools. They're all doing the same mint sites. And all of that is just to get you to the day you start, right? Like your mint is not the end. The mint is the beginning of building a business. And so we want to be able to help people sort of get over that hump and learn all the insights. And, a lot of these teams either have not had the business background, but have incredible Web3 or art or other sort of backgrounds that are really, really compelling and just need that business up leveling of, hey, you should probably incorporate, you're going to have to pay taxes. Here's how you hire people. By the way, contracts matter. Like a lot of stuff that we've done over the last decade, or seasoned operators who are like, okay, well, what's this Web3 thing? And so how can we help the really most talented and compelling projects leapfrog? But it doesn't have to be in the same model that we did. Certainly, we are looking for people who push the envelope. So we push the envelope on our art. We push the envelope on lending. We want to see how other projects push that envelope.
I really want to dive in on what you're looking for, maybe some hypothetical examples of where you would fit into a project. But first, Allie, maybe if you can explain where you see this fitting into this broader ecosystem of education and growth. You mentioned Hug earlier. They're doing mentorship and a bit of a program. Where does this fit into the broader space?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is such a broad spectrum right now of education and support, where you've got projects like Addies that are showing people the nuts and bolts of minting an NFT, and Zen Academy to learn how to evaluate projects. So those are from the consumer side. And then, Group Hug, which is elevating and accelerating post-mint growth stage projects. You've got Nifty Gateway that is helping established artists enter the space. There's a really exciting new resource that is coming out from our mutual friend Zeneca with his NAS Academy class to help people really understand and learn how to launch an NFT, from his year of experience watching all of these projects launch. And what we're doing and where we fit in is that we're bringing in tried and true Web2 accelerator infrastructure to what right now really is the Wild West. Like we are delivering a comprehensive program that accelerates talented founding teams and lets them focus on what is really unique about their project.
Yeah. And over the 10 to 12 weeks, we've got basically 4 prongs of this sort of cohort-based learning. We've got sort of the business operations piece. We've got the community and marketing piece. We've got the sort of art generation piece. And then we've got the engineering and security, and thinking about those are things that you are going to need to master. And you are probably going to be stronger in 2, if you're lucky, 3 of them, but not all 4. And here's the path that you can go through, and we will help you along the way. And so it's really hands-on, tactical. And also, and Allie should talk about the mentor program. I mean, bringing in people who really know their stuff to be able to help you leapfrog. And I mean, YC, every week we'd have an incredible person come in and give us behind the scenes, off the record info that really was impactful in thinking about how you built your startup. But you also had the other founders around you that were learning and that you could bounce ideas off of. This is a space that can actually be quite isolating despite being collaborative, and minting at the same time as other people learning from them is actually also a huge upside, in addition to all the programming and everything else.
So in terms of how this will actually work for somebody going through the program, I think of a YC as like summer camp for like really cutthroat, entrepreneurs who are just like in it and around each other all the time and seeped in this and presenting and mentorship, whatever. And it's very intense. And I know they have the weekly meetings where they bring in Zuckerberg or, whoever Mark, or not Randy, but, and different people who are advising folks. Is that what you're picturing here? Is this full-time, super immersive? Is it more flexible? How does it work from that standpoint?
Yeah. So go ahead, Allie.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so yes, in that Web3 is full-time and immersive. Like I have worked in politics where, leading up to a campaign, it's like 20 hours a day. I have built a business. I have never worked as hard as I have over the past 4 months in Web3. That like, it is relentless. It is 7 days a week. It is 20 hours a day. And, like we know that the companies that are going to succeed in this space are going to be putting in that time and that energy. I want to be really realistic about what it takes to launch a project successfully. Our expectation is not that they're engaging with us in all of that time, but they're able to lean on us in that time. And, you talked about YC. I'm the Techstars maxi in the group. I went through Techstars almost 10 years ago. I've been mentoring for almost 5 years now. And it's a different, more collegial, less cutthroat environment that is really around building small cohorts, 10 to 12 companies that have a pool of hands-on mentors that are working with them closely one-on-one. And that is the model that we're going for. Not all of the mentors in our program will be doing that type of engagement. Some of them will be coming in and doing fireside chats and leading master classes. But we've got a pool right now of 30 really amazing mentors, and we're just getting started in building it. So we have people like Zeneca, we have people like Keith Grossman, we have Randy, we have you, which we're so excited about. And it's going to be a mix of that one-on-one mentorship and, being available for ad hoc questions, being able to talk to other founders in the space, like Will and Cass from the Littles, or Ben and Mai from Addie's, about some of the challenges and pitfalls that they saw, or like, how did you think about lore? How did you think about your smart contract? How did you think about teaching people how to mint who are new to the space?
Are you an LLC or are you a C Corp? How did you, where did you put your ETH after you minted? Is it a multi-sig? What did you end up doing? Do you have an institutional account with Coinbase? How do you pay people? There's all of these logistical questions, and there's not actually a right answer for some of them. There's a range of choices. And so having access to a lot of really great people is useful. And to your question around time commitment, I think companies who go through the program should expect about 2 to 3 hours of structured programming, and then one-on-one mentorship per week, plus the ad hoc help and access to experts as they need. We know running a company and preparing for mint is a full-time job. So it's not school. But what it is saying, okay, between these four, biz ops, art, community, and marketing, and then engineering, you're going to have all of these scheduled things. And that we're going to talk about art generation and rarity up front. And we're going to talk about incorporation and those things up front. And then we're going to talk about Discord setup. And as we get closer to mint, we're going to talk about Discord security and, all of these different pieces so that you're getting the right info at the right time. And 10 to 12 weeks later, you're going to be ready to mint. Now, not everyone will mint on the same day. That would be bad. Gas wars are bad. But it's not a demo day from that perspective. But we expect that between the back half of our mint and, a month after mint, almost all of those are going to mint in that window, which is like being ready. We did it in 2 months, basically, beginning to end. And it's possible, but having the resources makes it a lot easier.
So the goal to take a project really from strong concept to mint over the course of this 10 to 12 weeks. And I hope I think this is appropriate for me to say, because I did talk to Randy Zuckerberg and what they're doing with Group Hug. She's like, it almost feels like it could be a feeder because they're working with slightly later stage projects. So we talk about this ecosystem that's being built out. I think there's something really awesome there about the team, you all being close to each other and sort of.
I think there's definitely upside to them being able to see both as mentors and also just, in the space, getting to see the companies coming out of it. I know they're focused exclusively on women, so some of the companies may not be a fit for them since we were looking more broadly, but being able to think that there is something for pre-mint, there is, a post-mint, program over here, and here's all the different things that you can do. I think it's good that this space is maturing and professionalizing. There's a lot of incredible people in the space who are advising companies for quite a large percentage of mint that give a very narrow slice of value. And that may be what some projects need, is they just need help on the technical side, or they just need help on the marketing side. But most projects need help across the board. And so being able to make sure that the companies are successful, with every piece of that, which you need all of that to be in lockstep, is really important to us. Ali, you should talk about Cheryl as well at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cheryl
thing.
Kelland, yeah. So Cheryl Kelland is the managing director of Angel Labs. Meta Angels is a a sponsor of Angel Labs, but we are going to continue, Alex and I and Gabe are going to be continued day-to-day focus on the operations of Meta Angels. So we brought in this phenomenally talented serial entrepreneur. She's been a Techstars. She's been mentoring. She is a mom of four. She is a 3-time Ironman. Like, she is the badassiest badass I have ever met. And when we first started talking about this idea, like, I immediately thought, like, this is who we need to run this. So we are so excited to have her leading the charge on it. She has built out this curriculum and is continuing to develop it. The companies that are participating in the class are just so lucky to have the chance to work with her, as well as those incredible mentors.
Yeah. And it's also important, for us to take Angel Labs seriously, it needs to be run full time by a team. And for us to take Meta Angels seriously, we need to be giving it our full attention. And so Allie and I are not the type of people to do an after school special for anything that we do. We give 197% of the 100% we have to give. And so this was a way for us to make sure that this is going to be an excellent program that, of course, we'll be mentoring, of course, we'll be involved in, but that has the full attention to be a breakaway success while we continue to grow and evolve Meta Angels on the side.
How does this benefit Meta Angel holders and the Meta Angel community?
Great question. Yes, I can't believe we didn't get to this yet. So there's 2 major benefits to angel holders. The first is that their Meta Angel itself will act as an access pass to Angel Lab projects. So not every project will interest every member. We also, some projects may end up minting 500 because it's a different type of collection, right? Not 10K. So, there's a lot of range in what that will mean, but it will be greater access to these handpicked teams and these mints than if you were not a holder. And that it will just be an immediate benefit to our community. And, we're big proponents of listening to our users. One of our earliest surveys showed that one of the things people wanted was access to quality teams and mints. And especially because our community is a range of people who are actually deep in Web3 and are all connected and can get on, WowG's list, and people who are not at all. That level of access is important to them and is something we wanted to deliver. The other thing is that any Meta Angels holder who applies will at least get a first round interview so they can pitch live, which is a big deal. We expect this to be very competitive. We expect it so far, we've already had, without us having announced it, have people who have come to us for advice who are like, this is a perfect feeder and these are the kinds of companies we want to be talking to. But and Cheryl and the team there will have independence in picking the projects they believe will be the best of the best, but being able to pitch live in addition to the application is a real upside. And I know we have a lot of builders in our community. So that is something we wanted to be able to deliver, is give them that extra sort of in the application, plus access to the broader community. And I expect there will continue to be more sort of symbiosis between the two as we help really rise up the quality projects.
Yeah. And so within our community, we have collectives where people can opt in to participate in focused conversations that are really targeted toward their interest. And the one that is most active and has the most members is our NFT Builders and Founders Collective. So, knowing that in combination with the fact that so many of our members were really passionate and enthusiastic about access to quality projects, it just made natural sense that it really is a continuation of the work that we were doing early on with Meta Angels to help advance the space, bring in lending, and really just help continue to foster innovation.
You described 2 examples of folks you think are well suited for this program. One is experienced operators, and then the other is experienced artists, who presumably are sort of missing the sort of opposite piece to the other in some way, potentially, though maybe both need help with Web3. To break this down a little bit more specifically, do you have some hypothetical examples of the kinds of projects, or you said going beyond maybe just the 10K PFP type project, that you guys would be really excited to see?
Yeah, so to give some examples of real companies that we have been talking to and that Cheryl has had conversations with, like, in the last week alone. So one example, access to educational projects or products that go beyond Web3. So there is a product in our pipeline that has a real estate investment fund and a cohort-based learning program to teach people how to move into multifamily real estate investing. So the NFT becomes an access pass to the learning, and it accrues benefits if the holder is also part of that investment trust. Another example that we haven't yet talked to, but is one of the things that's on my mind, like imagine a language learning app where you get access to a community of others who are learning alongside you. So, there's the kind of Web3 enabled learning communities. There are loyalty-based subscriptions and gift cards to real life products and services. Like the Board Breakfast Club's coffee subscription is a great example of one that is doing that really well right now. Early access online tools and services. What we're seeing right now heavily in the space is online tools and services that give you access to NFT projects or enable you to track your portfolio. So like Apes Together, Floor, Prement's launching one soon. But imagine the potential for so many other services. Like imagine buying an NFT that you redeem for concierge travel services, or an NFT that you use to have someone build out, photo books for you. Like so many things where we can bridge that real life and Web3 in a way that's really compelling.
Yeah, I mean, people are paying subscriptions in Web 2 all the time, whether they're getting varied amounts of sort of value from. And the thing that's incredible with an NFT is you can buy it once, you can get all of the benefits, and if you no longer need it, there is a market for it, right? And so like that sort of completely changes the paradigm. I think there's a lot of also just thinking about the on-ramps for sort of very powerful Web 2 communities and how they come onto Web 3 is very interesting to us. For things that make sense with an NFT layer, but where you can tap into an existing community. I think a lot of brands have done it poorly in terms of just trying to say like, we're just going to slap a 10K collection on and like just say that we're going into Web3 versus really listening to your user and figuring out what the use case is. There's media companies in our pipeline. There's, an existing vertical community of Latino women in business that's looking to use an NFT as an access pass. Projects with different takes on sort of what they're looking to accomplish with it. And I think it's been interesting to see whether it's, from gaming to sort of how people have tokenized NFTs to how you think about, taking something that's actually very physical, whether it's real estate, and we're seeing a lot of people thinking about that translation. We are really, if you are listening to this and you have an idea and you think it's pushing the envelope, we want to hear about it. So this is the short version.
Do you all provide funding, or what are pathways to funding in addition to the mentorship style resource and the, help with your smart contract, all that really important dev and otherwise support?
I mean, we have a lot of people who want to invest venture or angel in the space. If that is the question, like we certainly can make many, many connections, people looking to fund companies in the space, and expect that to also be a feeder, which is, if of the X companies in our cohort, this many are looking for funding, who would you like to talk to? That's certainly something that we'll be able to help with our networks. And I think it's some of it is figuring out. A lot of NFT projects right now are saying we make money from selling, NFTs in a mint, and then we have royalties, and that's our model. And that model is simplistic, right? Like that's, unless you are able to continue to move volume, and some projects can more than others, and some projects should more than others, then you don't have a long-term sort of play. When I think about runway the same way as you do in a startup in Web 2, how many months do you have? How many years do you have? What's your income? And if you're completely dependent on secondary sales, you don't control your future. And so I think that the companies that are really thinking in an interesting way about what that means for revenue, then it's just not just another derivative drop. Like that for me is where it gets really interesting. And I think where it becomes true businesses. And we're looking for businesses.
How are you all thinking about that? Quickly jumping back to Meta Angels in terms of sustained revenue, sustaining the project as a business.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, obviously, sort of secondary sales is a piece of it. We've thought about it in terms of how we spend our mint. I think we get a lot of questions like, you've sold this much, right? You have this much in your coffers. And we're like, well, that's not 2 months worth of spend, right? Like that is making sure that we can build for the long term. Obviously, there's partnerships and work and things in the works that could be revenue driving outside of just selling NFTs. And then there's sort of, whether it's through Angel Labs or other things, or sort of other projects that can then have a benefit back into Meta Angels to let it continue to grow from a revenue perspective.
I want to ask this, and you all, we can cut it out if there's any reason you wouldn't be comfortable talking about this. But so my understanding is that 7% of the mint proceeds for projects that go through this program will go to Meta Angel Labs. So that's That's how the lab funds itself, is through that fixed 7% take from the initial mint. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there an equity component to this? I think Techstars and YC, you guys can tell me, are entitled to a certain percent of equity of the projects moving forward. Would have been easy for you guys to take some sort of recurring royalty, but I didn't see you mention that. I would love to hear.
Yeah,
the thought
so I
process.
think the thing is with in Web2, when you take this sort of equity, you're sort of waiting to get the payout later, and you're making that bet early on, right? When you're taking a percentage of mint, as we're doing here, because the model is different, we get to sort of participate in the success that we contributed to. I think, when we thought about equity components, or more of the sort of secondary sale royalties side of it, we thought about the model. Certainly a lot of people suggested it to us. For me, just at the end of the day, taking a percentage of secondary sales felt exploitative. We will have a real hand in identifying great teams and helping their mint succeed. But if 6 months or a year later, they do something and are a breakout success and they have, huge secondary trading volumes, that will not be in great part thanks to us. It will be maybe that we identified a great team and helped them launch, but I'm a founder myself. We are founders myself. If I put myself in their shoes, it's a deal I would not want to take. And so it was important to us that the value and the values be aligned, which is we're going to help you take off and we will take a percentage of what we're able to contribute, but go and sort of grow this. And we'll be, hopefully happy holders of those projects. But taking a percentage of secondary sales, I don't know. I think it's not, I don't want to see the space be exploitative. And I think there's a lot of room for that to happen. So we wanted to set the stage there.
And to Alex's earlier point, like Mint is the starting line. Like we are getting projects to the starting line. One of the things that really is amazing about the NFT space is that it does not take a lot to get a project off the ground financially. That you can bootstrap these projects to Mint, and then in many cases defer a lot of your expenses until after Mint. And the thing that's so different about what we're doing to a Techstars or a YC, they're investing in these companies with their time and their resources that might see liquidity 10 years later. We are looking at a space where there's immediate liquidity that we can then take and reinvest in the next batch of projects. So really using it immediately to fuel continued growth in the space and continued innovation. That's the thing that's getting us out of bed in the morning on this.
Have you all considered setting up like a Meta Angel vault where the projects that mint, you have that project that go through the lab and mint, a few of them go into this vault, and then Meta Angel holders have some sort of fractional share of that vault? I've seen this model now playing out. I interviewed somebody who's doing that. Carlini's doing it with Penelope's. Seemed like it could be a natural fit here.
Yeah, it's something we're considering. I think our focus right now is how we can sort of accelerate those learnings of Web3 and sort of innovate on the next gen use cases. I think what we will see is coming out of the first cohort. What have we learned from that? What is working for the projects we went through? And what makes sense, especially as we start thinking a little bit more broadly than just NFT-enabled projects? What's the right model? But we always want that to be aligned, like we said earlier, right? Like we want to make sure that, yes, we will have put a lot in to help people be successful, but at the end of the day, they're the ones driving their projects. So the exact model, I think, will continue to refine just as the space continues to be refined. But for this first pass, it made sense for us to just do a percentage of mint and keep it clean.
I know you all have just launched, so you're just trying to get the initial program up and running, but this excites me because it's a concept that like gets my imagination spinning. I've had a couple of these. I mentioned it with Storyverse, where I'm just like, oh, my mind goes to all the interesting places you guys could expand into with something like this. So I have to ask, in a year, in 2 years, where would you want? And let's do both Meta Angels to be, and then Meta Angel Labs to be as programs.
Yeah. So I think, we want to help the space progress quickly, right? Like I think right now seasoned operators are held back by learning just the raw logistics of the space. We're going to keep evolving our model to pull companies forward. I think, the opportunities we talked about to move beyond NFTs for sure is on our mind. But when I think about, a year from now for Angel Labs, I want it to be the program that companies who are doing something really innovative want to be a part of, because they think it increases their chance of success. It gives them access they wouldn't have otherwise. They have a built-in network. To this day, I can turn to Y Combinator and send a question. And that's the founders of thousands of companies in every possible space. Being able to go and jump into the Angel Lab Discord and chat with other founders who went through past cohorts who are now, big, players in the space. Like I want that to be something that other people get a chance to get access to, and that it also continues to reflect innovation, pushing the envelope, diversity in the space, and just the best teams, right? Like, I think there is a lot of signal, a lot of noise in Web3. And I think there's a lot of talent as well. And so if there's something that we've done for 10 years, it's hire really talented people and identify great people to partner with and work with. We're excited to sort of bring that eye and Cheryl's eye to be able to really have phenomenal teams that we're working with. And that's, for us, is fun, right? And it's mutually beneficial. I think, a rising tide lifts all boats. We are about collaboration, transparency, access in the space. And so I want to see that shift the paradigm a bit.
Yeah. And on the Meta Angel side, we're building a premier brand. This is the brand that we want people to put forward to convey their values and showcase who they are and what they believe in and who they want to be in the world, while also building the most valuable membership community, period, full stop. And that really is a focus on the Meta Angel side. And there is such a strong dovetail into what we're doing with Angel Labs because of that.
I guess the last crucially important question on the labs piece, and then if you have a few more minutes, would love to go back to Meta Angels. How do people apply? And what is that process going to look like for folks who want to get involved in the lab?
Yeah, so applications open Monday, April 4th.
So it might be tomorrow, might be 2 days from now, depending on when this airs.
Exactly.
It'll be the Monday after this airs.
The Monday after this airs. And so people can go, they apply, they'll be in sort of interview process, selection process run by Cheryl and the team. But, there'll be about, I think, 2 weeks worth. Ali, I don't know if you have the exact date to apply.
April 18th. In true Web3 fashion, we are running this like a bullet train.
And is it like, go to like Meta, are you guys metaangels.io? What's your, we'll put it in, not that you have to verbalize it out loud,
it's angel-labs.io.
Okay.
And we'll tweet it from all sorts of different places, including the Meta Angels Twitter. Yes. But going there, there'll be the application details, there'll be details on the program, there'll be the actual application itself. And then, once the applications have closed, we'll be running the interviews, selecting the cohorts, and then kicking off in May. I mean, it's like right away, let's go. These are teams that are already working. They shouldn't stop working, keep going. Let's jump right in. And that means it's really looking for, June, July type mint time, which is not so far.
Not at all. Do you worry at all, Ali? Do you worry about like a bear market coming or some major crash a la, 2000, the internet, everything goes to nothing as you're starting to kick this off?
I think it's something that everyone who has even $1 invested in the space loses some sleep about. And short term, of course, it's a possibility. The market right now is driven almost exclusively by supply and demand of JPEGs, not any underlying fundamentals. Like, it is quant trading, purely quant trading. And I know that you and I share an interest in value investing and the idea of looking deeply to determine the actual worth of an asset. And I've got conviction that the NFT space is going to get to a place where we are able to do so. And when it does, that's where we're going to see a lot more stability in the market and less volatility. So quality projects with real innovation and utility is going to rise, and we want to be behind those teams.
Rarible is the NFT platform that's leading the charge into the multi-chain universe ahead of us. Available on Flow, Tezos, Polygon, and of course, Ethereum, Rarible is the perfect place for NFT newcomers, profile picture collectors, and experienced NFT traders. Rarible has a variety of NFT features that set it apart from other NFT marketplaces. They have a native messaging function allowing you to DM your friends or haggle with sellers. They also have a mobile app on iOS and Android with a built-in NFT portfolio tracker tool, so you can easily check the value of your digital art portfolio. Rarible is built on the Rarible protocol, a multi-purpose, open source, and community-governed NFT protocol that helps build products and services across the NFT ecosystem, including white label marketplaces tailored to specific NFT communities. So go to Rarible.com and start discovering and trading NFTs, putting in floor bids to join PFP communities, and DM with some brand new internet friends. If you're starting on your NFT journey, you need MetaMask. This is your tool to unlock the world of DeFi and NFTs without giving up custody over your private keys. MetaMask is both a secure in-browser wallet and also a secure bridge for your hardware wallet so that you can connect to any Web3-enabled website. You can now trade tokens with any DEX or aggregator. MetaMask Swap gathers real-time pricing information across the DeFi exchange ecosystem, allowing you to select your best price while getting all of the MetaMask benefits of self-custody, lower gas gas costs, and increase transaction success rates. MetaMask also has a fantastic mobile wallet, which I use while I'm out and about. And I use it to collect POAPs, NFTs, and use it for all my DeFi things while I'm away from home. If you haven't downloaded MetaMask, you gotta try it out. Download MetaMask for desktop and mobile at metamask.io, or load up your Ledger, Trezor, Keystone, or Lattice hardware wallets so that they too can get into Web3.
Okay. Back to Meta Angels for maybe call it a rapid fire round of a couple things I want to talk with y'all. Do you have 10 more minutes here for us to wrap up? Love it. Okay.
This is like
we
a
didn't get to it.
episode.
I know. That my favorite kinds. This is why I love podcasts. I love long form. We didn't get to talk about it earlier. The marketplace. You all have launched a Meta Angels branded marketplace in collaboration with Rarible. You were their launch partner. Tell folks why this felt like an obvious win to you. How did you end up as Rarible's launch partner? What's exciting to you about this?
Yeah, so the Rarible team reached out to us not long after our mint about working together in some way. And that ended up growing into this deeper partnership. I think they were looking to build upon Rarible protocol to launch this new and exciting white label marketplace. And they were looking for a project that was really community centric and that had the experience to pull this off in a short time frame. I mean, I think the custom build across time zones was in less than 3 weeks, maybe two weeks. I got to play head of product again, which is a role I've worn many times, product managing and QAing and working with their engineers, and their team is great. And so, for us, it was really, we had already been thinking about some of the functionality that's not easily available on OpenSea or other platforms. How do we sort of align incentives around buying and selling and what that means for community? And so we had been thinking about things we might be building in the future. And when they reached out, we were like, we're interested. Here are some of the things we'd want to build into it. And they were super aligned. And so it sort of turned into this early conversation, and then them turning to us and saying, will you be our exclusive launch partner in approximately 14 days, including weekends? And we're like, great, let's do it.
Absolutely. That's the timeline we work on.
Yeah.
How has it gone so far? How has it gone? I mean, we've seen some of these new marketplaces that launch struggle because OpenSea is what we're used to as consumers. I'm sure it's probably slow to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, it's early
but
days. It's less than a weekend. It's really early days. I think the response from the community has been fantastic. I mean, we have less than 7% of our collection listed. There's actually not, the volume actually listed in general is low for this project. But what's been really a high response rate has been having a win-win marketplace, right? Where transactions both put more money in the pockets of sellers, so it's lower fees. It's 2.2% total instead of 2.5%. So it's more money in the pockets of people who are selling. But in classic Meta Angels fashion, a quarter of that actually goes back into our community, right? So Rarible really worked with us to make sure that their fees were low enough that we could put 0.5% of all of the transactions listed on our marketplace back into our angel grants. And our angel grants, for a quick segue, are these no strings attached.
Let's do that. That's the next fat rapid response question.
There you go. So
the grant program, tell us.
0.25 ETH in the pocket of one Meta Angel holder every week. We're announcing the next one, I think, tomorrow. And it is a no strings attached grant. You apply for anything that would have a meaningful impact in your life. It could be personal, it could be professional. We've had people apply to go visit their grandmother. They haven't started since COVID. They haven't seen since COVID, to pay off medical debt, to pay for certification, to change their career, to buy art supplies, like whatever it might be. It is, you apply, you are in the database, and every week we give 0.25 ETH away, and to help make people's lives better. With this marketplace, the goal is really over time to have more and more money in that fund, so we can do either more grants, bigger grants, or both. Letting that be fueled by the community as we grow is just such a testament to sort of how we like to think about giving back.
I love it. And you guys are an impressive team, because I know everything feeds into everything else. This marketplace has features that feed into things that feed into the grant. So I know there's things you don't want to say and can't say just yet, but it all ties together. I think you guys are just thinking about this
say the way that I think it's part of it's how our brain works. Part of it is thinking about, products and things that layer upon each other. We want everything to be part of a greater whole, right? And for everything that we're building to be incremental value and to make sense, versus it being a scatter plot of spaghetti thrown against the wall. And I think, especially in a space where there's so much demand for attention and announcements and newness and alpha, where you're seeing people tweet like the fact that they're on a panel is alpha. And I'm like, guys, we have got to get away from this world, right? Building things of quality. We can do a bunch of small announcements. We can do giveaways. We can do allow us like that. We can do all day long. Building things that are quality, building products that actually deliver value can be done in 2 weeks, but Not always, right? And also, what's the next product? And does it make sense built on top of that? And is it strategically aligned? And so I think for me, what I love about what we're doing is that there are just so many layers. We are just getting started in how this all feeds together and how our values, right, of generosity, transparency, and accessibility are built into every product that we do and connect to each other. That's part of the fun for me. Like as a product builder, like that, I cannot wait for people to see where we are in 6 months.
Allie, there was a mention of lore. Did I hear a mention of lore in Meta Angels? Is that a whole other vertical here that is coming? No, more
lore.
Things I can't talk about.
The lore. No. The lore is there. So I remember the episode where you and Zeneca talked about how much potential there really is in the space around world building and storytelling.
Yeah.
And it like went straight to my heart because I actually, after college, I got an MFA in fiction writing of all things. That I'm
of course.
Yeah.
You guys are people who like you dig deeper into your career and you've had like 6 of them, and like
it's like a cat. It's a cat with 9 lives, except it's just like
careers. Yeah.
One of my friends jokes is like, it's been like 8 years that you haven't launched a new career. I'm like, guess what? I'm going to go into NFTs. But on the lore side with Meta Angels, we talked about those values and how we really wanted to weave those values into everything that we were doing. So came up with the idea to give each of our angels a focus. Like it's an angel of blank, an angel of innovation, an angel of sunsets, an angel of ecology. So we used AI to generate 10,000 unique angel descriptions. The thing about AI is that it is very, very good. It is a beautiful writer in so many ways. It is sometimes nonsensical or a total downer.
Offensive.
Or offensive, occasionally offensive. That was actually much less frequent than a downer. We had to tell the AI to be uplifting and hopeful and positive in order to have it not say things like, you are an angel of calm. You soothe the troubled souls who are like crippled by blah, blah, blah. Like it was
pretty, yeah. It was dark.
Yes, in some places.
Well,
it
got a little
dark.
Hans Christian Andersen over whatever Disney movie version.
Exactly. So that was a really big part of what we were doing.
Or Brothers Grimm. Did I just mix that up? Sorry. Now I'm still thinking about that last point I just made. Okay.
They're both
Continue.
extremely dark. Yeah. There's no like happy ending in all those. There are happy endings for all of the angels. We got to a place where they were all uplifting, and we had a QA squad of more than 100 people who read each and every single angel description.
It's like the equivalent. It's the equivalent of editing 4 novels, and this team of 100 plus members on our team, in our community, in secret, because this was of course a surprise for reveal, because we love surprises and we love extra little details. In secret, over about 2 weeks, edited 4 books worth of descriptions around the clock because it was a global team, and led to this. So if you go to metaangelsnft.com, go to our marketplace, look up an angel, click on it. It will tell you what it is an angel of. If you want a specific one, you can search for an angel of love. There's an angel of parents of teenagers. There's an angels of sarcasm, which are amazing. The fallen angels have like real attitudes, which is great. And then some of them, Gabe's angel is an angel of engineering. One of my favorite lines, so your wings shimmer with the brilliance of computer code, reflecting the power of technology that you embody.
That was AI.
That was AI.
That's
AI
beautiful. I mean, that's terrifying. Yeah. That's
they're very good writers.
That's scary to think about.
They're coming to get us.
They're coming to get all of us.
Coming.
Yeah, I work for Andrew Yang.
On the subject of what Alex was saying about like everything having a greater purpose, those angels are angels of that for a purpose. We haven't rolled that out yet, but
certain angels will have special attributes, characteristics, participation in the community, upside, and the benefits. That's part of the fun. Is there's over 500 types of angels, and some of them will get to be extra special.
They remind me, it's like archangels, and right, sort of don't archangels have their the angel
we
of
have
lost
archangels
things. Too. Okay. I love this because, and I've said this I think a number of times on the show, I've always historically been more of like a words person than a visual person. I love songs and lyrics, and so when I can pick a thing based less on the art and more on the story or the name, like that gets me excited. So I realized I did know you guys had these pieces, but I didn't know they were for all of them. I'm going to go check what my Meta Angels stories are, with their
We
the
had
angels
someone
that haven't done that
recently
yet.
We had someone recently buy an angel. I think it was with diamond wings, and it was an angel of riches. And they were like, I had to get this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I deserve this.
I think one of the things that's great as well is when people think about, we talked about identity, right? So we're, as far as I know, the first collection to do the full range of race and gender without coding gender in. So we don't have, female angels and male angels. We present all genders. But what we did was really create this variety for people to find themselves. And that's reflected in the lore as well, right? There's angels of writing. There's angels of, there's someone who minted, who's I think a surgeon or a doctor, who definitely works something surgery related, who got an angel of skill that talked about the like miracles they perform with their hands. And they were like, this was like meant to be. There's teachers who found. So I think there's, whether you're gifting it or buying it for yourself, I do think identity and brand is a big part. And it's part of what makes you feel connected and feel represented and seen. And so I think that's been exciting for me to see what people look for and find and share on social.
And
Allie, within our Discord, a lot of people have replaced their traditional Discord names with like name angel of blank. So we have like Lauren, angel of language, and Amelia, angel of spreadsheets. So like really, really exciting to see people really embrace that as part of their identity. We had someone who's like angel of snuggles, and that was her name for a while. With 500 unique ones, we like really went out on a limb with what some of the angels represented. Mm-hmm. Allie, where did the name Meta Angel come from?
Yeah. So going back to that evening of sitting around on a couch and talking about like what is the brand and representation that you would want to represent you that is gender neutral, that is really signaling your values, and signals that idea of helpfulness and delivering on other people's needs. The first thing we actually kind of tossed around was this idea of a fairy godmother, like where you wave a magic wand and like make someone's dreams come true. Obviously, that is gendered, and we weren't going to go in that direction. But like that very same night, like early that morning, we were talking about this idea of an NFT project. And by like 6 p.m., we had a domain and it was Meta Angels. So in that true rapid fire NFT iteration path, we landed on the name really, really quickly. And the idea is like just someone who is like delivering upon your needs, like coming in and helping you with that thing that you most need support on.
And a guardian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have a lot of guardian angels. That's one of the tropes of angels that we have within the collection.
The other thing I'd say is I think one of the things that's always sort of as a secondary thing appealed to me is there's this idea of sort of the better angels of our nature, right? That there's good in humanity, that people, the number of people who are like, why would someone want to help someone else? So I was like, you're clearly not the target for this community. And that's okay.
Who is publicly asking that question? That's your question you should keep. Really?
Web3 is such a transactional space right now, right? There's plenty of really beautiful communities being built, but a lot of people who are in it to flip it, who are in it to, and not to say that having financial motivations is not a good thing. There's plenty of reasons to get into Web3, but this idea that you could want to help people just to help people, for some folks was I didn't realize that you could like mint out in 48 hours with 93% participation on your mint list based on wanting to help people. And we're like, yeah, there's a lot of people out there who the better angels, right? When you think about, and what does it mean to push this space to be more human, more helpful, more collaborative, more impactful, right? I mean, of all the stuff, like getting on an allow list is great. And there's many positive things about it. And we certainly do those things as well. But I think that impacting people's real lives matters, right? And so the way I think about what we're building oftentimes is before anyone ever sells an angel, I want them to get more than their money's worth from the connections they get, from the knowledge, from the partnerships we have, from the products we're building, from our where we have exclusive member programming that's going to be coming up, from discounts, for all the different things that we build. That's why it's a membership, right? That while you're here, you're getting value, not just when you leave, Like, I think it's such, from going back to building products, I think it's really weird to build communities where the value is leaving, right? Like,
yeah. There's another metaphor there. I'm trying to think what it is, but I'll come up with it once it's too late.
Yeah. And Alex, she talked about how we minted out in 48 hours, 52 hours.
Sorry.
And
2 days, I mean, 2 long days.
Well, it was because we had our silver list, which is another whole story and sideline. But one of the things that also really contributed to the enthusiasm that we saw behind it was the phenomenal art from Sarana Hayata, who is just the most prolific and spectacularly talented artist I have ever encountered. Like, we met her in early December, and came to her with this concept of a non-binary angel that wouldn't have any traits that were tied to gender, that would be racially representative across the full spectrum, and also was capital A art. And that's a tall order to come through it. And she did it. In 6 weeks, we had every trait, and it was 400 plus traits.
What's so spectacular, and Ali, you highlighted this to me at one point, and then I started looking at the collection more deeply, is you can't, it's not just oh, they're gender neutral. It's truly you look at it and you're that could be, you can see anything in it. It almost shape shifts depending on your perspective as you're looking at it. You're maybe that's a, male, or maybe that's a cool woman, or it's really interesting how the art breathes in that way around sort of gender and identity. Yeah. So you guys have done a really good job with that.
It's one of the things as well as, I think we took on, again, in classic us fashion, decided to be overachievers and take on more of a challenge than we needed to. But because we wanted to push what could be done with the art here, I think it's something we're excited about when we think about Angel Labs as well, is what are the ways in which people are pushing the envelope? And there's plenty of very good, cartoon style PFPs or pixelated PFPs out there, and that they can be very compelling. What else can we do? Right? And I think especially as we think about more people taking NFTs seriously, one of our goals from Meta Angels, and I think we've very much hit the mark here, is that if an angel was on the wall at a museum or a gallery, you wouldn't say, oh, it's because this is an NFT that sold for $1 million. You'd say, oh, wow, what beautiful art. And then you'd read the card and go, holy shit, it's an NFT. Right? Being able to turn that and be in of itself, it stands for something. And so what other ways are people going to push the envelope? And some of that might mean it's not 2D. There might be other ways that people are still experimenting, but it's been very cool to think about where the space can go and what people are going to do next. And I really encourage people listening to this to not just replicate what they're seeing. That's not going to be success in this space. And that's not how this space is going to grow.
Broader topical / general question I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on is actually social media strategies, and specifically Instagram, and where you see Instagram going with NFTs. Obviously, the energy has historically been with Twitter. You had Mark Zuckerberg announce that there'll be an NFT integration in Instagram. And in some ways, Instagram is the more sensible platform for all of this because it is art and it is visual. I think I'll be curious. I mean, I think you guys have done such a beautiful job of offering a different kind of a project, and I think it appeals to a broader range of people than what historically has maybe been in this space. And I think Instagram has that potential too of just bringing new people into NFTs, folks who aren't hanging out on Twitter. Long preamble to a question, but you're hiring a social media person. I think I saw that on your jobs board. Yeah. How do you think about social media and maybe Instagram specifically, or where do you see all this evolving?
Yeah. So, I mean, social media, it's right now, aside from Discord, it's the primary channel for communication. It's so critically and crucially important. And in thinking about Instagram, it's actually one of our community members, Debbie, who eventually joined Hug. She came to us early on in December and said, I think you guys need to have an Instagram strategy. And she took up the reins of that and just volunteered to help us with that. And early on was creating really great informational content and Instagram stories to help onboard new people. And as we're thinking about making the space more inclusive, bringing in more women, bringing in more people who are underrepresented, who aren't living their lives on Twitter, that's a channel that's going to be so important. To your point about it being visual content, so compelling, and just scrolling through the grid of the Meta Angels Instagram, it's one of the things I was sending people early on when I was trying to explain to them what we were doing and what we were trying to achieve with the art. It's going to be a big part of our strategy moving forward, particularly as we're thinking about the lending and bringing in those people who are not traditionally involved. With the potential around stories, I think that's where we could see a lot of that and really being able to do more. It's not quite long form content, but things that are not just a caption and an image, things that are more interactive.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, and it's also a place where the art that's more compelling will definitely have a leg up on a platform like Instagram. I do think, despite what sort of Meta and sort of Facebook and Instagram have announced, they have some work to do before it can really be a platform to turn to for this. I mean, if you use an NFT hashtag on Instagram, it is like instant bots. Instant bots. Given already all the issues with scamming and phishing that's happening on Discord and on Twitter, you want to add that to Instagram where it's potentially less sophisticated NFT familiar folks. I think they're going to need to really do a better job, and they've not traditionally been good at that. So that is, I think, the one caveat in the space is it is such an opportunity. And yet I think doing it, the platform itself will have to live up to that opportunity, because folks aren't just going to pull out a credit card and buy something on Instagram right now. That's not how it works. And they're not going to do an NFT before they, buy a Lululemon pair of pants.
And we see so much fraud happening in Discord, where like there are the DM scams, all of those pieces. And the people in Discord are at a kind of higher level of sophistication around NFTs, though still hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars are being scammed from people every single day. On Instagram right now, because of the velocity of picking up some followers, there are like a dozen accounts for Crypto Mom right now, who's one of the advisors to Boss Beauties. I talk to her about it all the time, that a new one pops up all the time. Some of them have more followers than her actual account. And they're just there to scam people. And like, she hasn't been verified. There isn't a quick and easy way for those accounts to be taken down. Like, there are a lot of security measures that need to be put in place before Instagram really feels like a safe place to talk about NFTs.
Final thoughts. Any advice you want to share with folks? Thoughts about the labs, Meta Angels, things we didn't get to? I know we've run long, unsurprisingly, because we all have so much to share and wisdom.
On my side, we talk a lot about elevating the space, maturing the space, helping take it to the next level. We've talked about how this is a 24/7 expectation right now around NFTs. I think one of the places where there is so much potential and we can see teams take real leadership is around backing away from that, really looking at the human side of this space, helping founders understand what they're signing up for when they jump into an NFT project, the relentless messages, and when utility posts, not only helping prepare founders for that, but really trying to change expectations within the communities for what it means to be part of one of these projects and what an appropriate pace is, and what to expect from these projects.
I hate to say it, but that's why I think the crash that will come, there's going to be some bright sides to that. I think it'll allow the space to mature and the communities to mature after that happens, and the strong really remain.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think the thing I sort of leave it with, and this is for people listening across the board, right? If you're crypto curious and you think it's not for you, 6 months ago, I could not have told anyone anything about NFTs, and I'm currently the CEO of a significant NFT project. It's not as hard as it seems. The gatekeeping is real, but it's mostly jargon. And so it's important to be educated, important to learn about some of the basic tenets of it, and especially around security, but it's only a handful of things you need to learn for the majority of the sort of security things to be covered. And same on the NFT project side. At the end of the day, an NFT project, it's a company, it's a brand, and there's a lot of similarities with Web2. And so for people who have successfully built projects and companies and brands in Web2 and who are really curious about the space, I actually think the sky is the limit, because there's a lot of projects in the space right now that are people who have literally never run a company, who overnight have $4 million, $5 million, $60 million, depending on the project we're referring to, and who don't have any clue what to do with it. And it's a reason that I think that the sort of lack of transparency in the space, we didn't talk about doxing or not doxing, there's a reason we were transparent about who we are. We want people to be able to make their own decisions on what teams they want to back. I certainly take that significantly into account when I think about what NFTs I may be interested in. But the fundamentals of the business is the same. There's obviously different things in Web3, but it's operations, marketing, strategy, spotting talent, listening to your user, communication, right? Crisis management, all of the things that happen in a normal company happen in Web3 just faster. And so I think that's one of the biggest differences in this space is that pace we just talked about, the pace of innovation, which is so exciting for me, the speed of execution, which I find incredibly, energizing, but also the timeframes for market expectations, which can be unrealistic. And so I think because that's an order of magnitude beyond what you see in Web 2 or anywhere else, yes, it's exhilarating. It's fun. I also think it's a real risk to the ecosystem, as you say, right? I don't think we can be building an ecosystem that not only burns out builders, but burns out customers, right? We are building an ecosystem where consumers, where people say, I got to take a step back. I don't know. I need to take a break, right? Like that's not healthy for the space. And so I think, and building quality products, businesses, brands takes time. It doesn't have to take years, but it has to take more than days. And so I think I guess that's a thought I would leave it is that balancing the short-term view and the long-term view is really critical if we want this to be what it can be. And if you want people to come in who have real jobs and real skills and values and aren't just spending all day on Discord, then we got to make it attractive to those people. And those are the people who empower the space.
Yeah. And building real companies. Like you cannot build a company while also spending 10 hours a day on Discord. It's just not realistic. And like you need to take a step back from that like immediate reaction and reactive nature of things to really take a long-term strategic view. And there's not a lot of room for that in the space right now. And it's one of the things we want to change.
Thank you so much. This is one of these conversations where I just felt fully in it the whole time because I was so eager to hear what your answers were going to be. So that usually is a sign that other people are going to love this. So I'm really excited for folks to hear it. Thank you for breaking-ish, I think, news about the lab here, breaking it here.
Breaking news. I think
big news. Breaking news here on this alpha, true alpha, right, Alex? Yes. Not that this fake panel.
This is alpha.
BS. This is true.
Here's the alpha. Apply to Angel Labs on Monday. Share it with the projects you know that are amazing. Share it in your communities. We want to hear from every corner of Web3 and beyond for really the best projects, the best teams, the people you would want to back. We want them to be part of this. And so it doesn't matter where you're based, what you look like. If it's somehow NFT related or enabled, let's talk.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless Premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless Premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content. Thanks everyone for watching and being on the journey as we build out the Bankless Nation.